Hi, welcome to the BariNation podcast, where we support the bariatric community with humor, humility, and honesty. I'm April.
I'm Jason.
I'm Natalie.
And I don't know what karmic gods we have paid off, but two of our most favorite humans are joining us today on the podcast, Dalton and Rob. Hi, friends.
What's going on?
How are you?
I truly don't know how this happened. We've been attempting to make this work for a while, and we are so thankful that both of your smiling faces are on screen with us today. So if you are listening, sorry, you don't get to see the handsomeness that's going on. If you're watching on YouTube, you're definitely going to see it. Dalton and Rob have been like our friends. We've been following them forever. They're also our like movement inspo in a lot of different ways. They're both on a fitness journey or a movement journey, a wellness journey, if you will. Both have had bariatric surgery. And they joined us today because we want to understand how they got to the destination of movement. So we've kind of talked a lot recently about, how we all have this final destination that we want to get to. And we've identified there's three pillars that we need to kind of lean on, right? Or construct in our lives after surgery if we want to find success. It's movement, it's mindset, and it's metabolic wellness. Well, these two guys have really figured out movement, and they've come to it from different perspectives, right? Different pathways, and they're using it differently in their lives to achieve kind of what they want to achieve. So our conversation today is really going to be all about that. But before we jump into that, I'm going to hand the floor over to you guys and just introduce yourselves. If people don't know you or if they don't follow you, tell them a little bit about who you are, maybe the type of surgery you had, if you feel comfortable sharing the weight that you've lost, and maybe how life has changed for you since surgery. So Rob, we're going to start with you.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Hey, I'm Rob. I had bariatric surgery like 2 years ago. At my highest weight, I was 365 pounds and I was burning out a medical grade CPAP. Since then, I've had surgery and I'm down 150 pounds. I've been spending the last year in maintenance and just really trying to figure out how am I going to move my body for a practical mindset and function, as I continue on and try to get to my 7-year mark.
How's life changed for you after surgery? What's been like the biggest?
Well, I can tie my shoes. That's a big plus. It is. Let's just say what it is. I used to sweat thinking about putting on clothes, and now all of a sudden I have a wardrobe. It's like it's a whole new lifestyle for me. So it's like a big deal that I get to move my body. It was something that as a younger person, I played football in high school, rugby in college. I really did enjoy movement. And then for whatever reason, I got away from it. And to be able to come back and have every morning to be up at 5 a.m. and be able to move my body in a way that I choose to move it, it's just an eternal blessing that I savor every day. I enjoy. It's a new way for me to cope with my anxiety and my stress. And it's a different way of how I approach my life and how I'm going to continue to live my life.
Well, you've inspired a lot of people along the way too, on top of all of that other stuff that you're doing. And 5 a.m., I don't know, we will talk about that when we get deeper into this conversation, but what? You get up every morning at 5?
5 a.m. Yeah, it was funny. Back when I used to do Men's Support Monday on Instagram Live, one of the best people I talk to is Jeremy, Maddie's daddy, VSG. We just talked about being parents, and we're both teachers. We are both parents. And the phrase and his mantra that really hit with me is life happens in the afternoon. And he's 1,000% right. Afternoon is where I'm showing up for my wife and kids. It's where I'm showing up for my students after school. It's where I'm showing up for my family members. It's a busy, jam-packed day. So if I want to hit my health and fitness goals, I needed to find a time to carve out for myself. And that's where I kind of took my magical Google Calendar that scares people and realized the only white spot left was either at 5 o'clock in the morning or at 9 o'clock at night. And the beauty of being a 5 a.m. workout person is everybody knows I work out at 5 a.m. because I tell them within like the first 20 seconds of conversation. So it works out well that I do this.
But you said something so profound, which a lot of us have a difficult time doing, is you prioritize yourself in your day, and you're actually doing it the very first thing in the morning. Like you're putting you first the very first second you wake up.
I think that's a big mindset change that I've had in my life is that I really am putting myself first for the first time in 35 years. A lot of times I used showing up for other people as the excuse as to why I ate the extra plate of food, why I missed the gym, why I stayed out a little bit later. And I've shown up for myself better in the last 3 years than I've probably shown up in the 35 before then. And the beauty of that is because I'm healthier, because I'm moving around, because I have more energy, I show up better for more people now that I'm first in my own life and my own journey.
Well, and the cool thing about that too is that the more you show up for yourself in different ways, the easier it is to continue to do it in other ways. So you're starting the day off with a positive shift to begin with. So that means later on in the day, whenever something comes up and you hit that crossroads where you're like, do I eat the cookie? Do I not eat the cookie? Do I, mess around at lunch and do this? Or should I be good at lunch? Whether you stay on track or decide to jump off the track, you've already made one solid decision for the day. You've got one win under your belt. So if you want to continue to do that, it's a lot easier to do because the first one's out of the way.
And I think that's important is that you attack the stack throughout the entire thing. You have all these goals you have to hit throughout your entire day. And the trick is the earlier you start attacking them and the earlier you chip away at them, the better your day is successful. So that when I do sit in the chair at 8:30 at night, I know that I've had a jam-packed day and I know that I've done a lot of things, but I also know I cooked a meal for my wife and kids today. I made sure that I was available to tutor some of my students after school. I still moved my body and I still had a perfectly balanced macro day because I went through and I manifested that and I planned out the day ahead of time.
Well, and one of the greatest things that people look for when they ask about motivation and what keeps you motivated and where's the motivation come from? It comes from the results you see from those wins you create and stack up. So the more you make it through your day doing the right things, the easier it is to finish your day doing the right things because you've already seen the results of the rest of your day. And so, when people are looking for that motivation, that's where that comes from, is the consistency of doing it right again and again and again. You start seeing the benefits of that, and then it makes it a lot harder to go back on those after you've seen the proof of the benefits.
Yeah, and I think it's just one of those things that the more you have a goal in mind, the easier it is to work for it. And, Dalton, I'm sure you could share so much about how your goals have really driven you. And it's just been amazing to watch how much he's grown throughout the last 2 years.
Appreciate that.
All right, go for it, Dalton. Introduce yourself.
Yeah. Oh, hey, everyone. My name is Dalton. I'm 29 years old. I actually had surgery in April of 2019. And my highest recorded weight was 515 pounds with Dr. Gatmatane here in Pensacola. I actually weighed a little bit more than that, but it was one of those things where I had to rush and get down, a few weeks before because I didn't want him to see it my heaviest. So 515 was actually my highest recorded weight with him. And then 3 years later, I was able to step on the stage at a bodybuilding competition and be down 330 pounds down. So crazy. I went from deathbed to bodybuilding, and it's like you would have never, in my wildest imagination and dreams, could have never imagined this is where my life would have wound up. But fitness saved me, and now it's one of those things where I look forward to it every day, and I can't see my life without it. So
And it's great to see people talk about how so many men don't share their stories, or a lot of men don't have before pictures, or we just don't, so many of us in the community, it's hard to take pictures like that when you see that. But you actually have a ton of pictures, photos, videos, all kinds of stuff that show you before and throughout the whole entire, all your stages. And I can remember the first time I came across your account and thinking like I had found somebody. It took me a long time to find somebody that looked like me to know that I would need to be successful to have the surgery in the first place. But I came across you after the fact that I had surgery, and I was just looking at that and I was amazed at how you had so much content of all the stages of your journey. That's what really kind of inspired me to do the same thing as I went along, so that, other people that came along after, you and I and Rob would have something to look back on, because I know it's really hard for men to find, people that look like them to figure out, if it will work. So it was good for me to see you have all those different phases which is, like I said, what inspired me to do the same.
I appreciate that. It's funny I even had those because I tell you, if it wasn't for, like, I would say probably just my hard-headed grandmother sneaking those videos and those photos. I swear on my life, probably 95% of the videos and photos are, that's why they're like 90% of them are blurry, because she doesn't know how to actually hold a phone and do them. So, you know, she's shaking, bless her heart, but she got a lot of them. And I swear, like, if my friends took photos, oh, you better best believe I'm getting that phone. So it's a miracle that I had those, but I'm thankful I do. But thank you, I appreciate it.
That's how I am too. My mom, she like took all of the pictures because my grandma was getting older, and she was like, "You're gonna want these pictures later." Is like, I guarantee you, I'm not gonna want these. And now I'm like so thankful because I'm like, oh, actually, this is a good one for, you know, before and afters or whatever. But yeah, the way that you showcase your content, and same with you, Rob. I mean, they're very different forms of content, but they both just showcase a men's journey in such unique and beautiful ways that I know not just myself, Jason, April are thankful for, but it's like so many other men are so thankful for that because you documented it.
Thank you. And I think one of the things I'm proudest of, especially when I see like Dalton and everyone there, is there's so many ways with Jason and everyone, and with Ked, Terry, and so many people, Rob, John Arpino, and the community. There's so many ways we showcase you can be a successful man in this community, and everyone is different. We might do some similar things, we might have some similar styles, but everyone has a different definition of success. And what makes Dalton really successful in his career is different than what's making me different in mine. It's different than Jason's. And it's really cool to see that. I've been really blessed that it's rare that I reach out into the community and I can't have a conversation with someone and they don't answer back. So it's a really cool community, the men that we have and how we look out for each other.
I feel like we have like look after each other, because if not, who's going to do it for us? There's not many of us men that are willing to kind of to talk about it, and because it's kind of one of those things where I don't want to say it's looked down upon, but it's just not one of those. It's not something I'm going to bring up at the dinner table, you know, amongst a group of guy friends. You know, we're going to talk about college football or, you know, something else other than a weight loss surgery. So I feel like, you know, the stronger our community is as guys, it's I don't know. It's just those relationships are key for success, in my opinion. So
no, it truly is, and I know that you both have probably received the same messages like I have. I'll get messages all the time from people, from women that want to reach out and ask me if I'll talk to their husband, their brother, their cousin, their whoever, like, oh, he's really going to start. He's really want to do this. He's struggling. He's thinking about it. And then I don't ever hear anything from anybody. Like, they'll never reach out and message me. Like, the communication falls dead right there. And I've reached back out and been like, hey, you know, I thought so-and-so was going to, oh yeah, he's going to. And then you just never hear from it, because that's legitimately how in the male community, it's really hard for us to admit that we're struggling in the first place, especially, and then reach out to somebody that we don't even know when we haven't had a chance to kind of show that we're not whatever the perception we think that person's going to think we are. Like, I don't want to think that. I don't want to think bad about me. I want to show that I'm like a man and I don't need help and I don't need a handout, and that, you know, but you want to do all that, you know, peacocking before you can turn around and say, okay, now I really do need some help. Like, please, you know, help me out of the shit that I'm in. And it really, it's tough, because that stigma has been placed on the men in the community. And I'm just like Rob said, I'm thankful that we have so many men that are willing to stand up and shout it from the rooftops and show that there is nothing wrong with us. We're not weaker. We're not, you know, sad. We're not, you know, all the things that people would think we are, and in need of this help, because we can't do whatever it is on our own, because we're big, strong men and we're supposed to be able to.
And I think one of the cool things with the community is one of my biggest wins, I think, on this whole process was, Dalton, when you were on American Glutton podcast. Like, in case anyone hasn't followed me, I listen to podcasts. That's kind of my thing. And, you know, I'm putting on American Glutton and I'm like, oh my God, Dalton is on. And he's sharing the story of the men in our community. And the fact that that story is out there, it's told, it's on a major platform. I messaged him like, what was that, 5:30 in the morning? Because I was mid-workout, I was getting them. And I'm like, Dalton, we did it. And I didn't do anything. He did it. But like, it was a big win for the men. Because seriously, that was such a huge deal. And we don't talk often, but when we do, it's meaningful and intentional, and it's always in praise. And that's the good thing about the men in the community is we may not talk often, but when we do, it's always that we're proud of each other.
Yeah.
I will say though, oh, sorry.
Nope. No, go for it.
I will say it's like the weight loss community, weight loss surgery, bariatric surgery, we have that stigma to break, right? But then it's like men in our community have two that they have to break. Not only that they're getting, bariatric surgery, but that they're men getting bariatric surgery. So it's like, it really is double the work. And so when those successes happen, I've not listened to that podcast, but trust me, I will. I did not know that existed. But when those amazing milestones happen for men in the community, like that is something that we need to celebrate. But you three are doing this. You're doing that. It's cool.
What I've really noticed too, just, most of you, well, Dalton and Rob, you haven't met my husband yet, but the three of us have. He was really resistant to anything that had to do with like weight, wellness, journeys, very much just like, no, like I can do it. It's fine. I don't get why you're doing this, whatever. And it's been so fascinating to see that as he becomes friends with everybody in the community, men and women, it's like he feels permission to kind of ask people maybe some questions that he wouldn't feel comfortable asking before, but you feel that you can do so because this person is out with it, right? It's like, hey, this is what I am, this is what I've done, this is what I'm doing, right? We're open to having those conversations. And if we didn't share our stories so publicly, other people wouldn't feel comfortable reaching out and asking those questions. And some people just take a very long time to get to a decision or to get to an understanding. And it's pretty magical that so many people in our community are willing to kind of do that slow walk with people to get them to the point where they do feel comfortable asking the questions or reaching out or, just having, even this weekend in Dallas, it was so fascinating to see the power of these quick little 5-minute conversations that I saw Grady having with everybody else there. And he would come back to me, he'd like, oh, I didn't realize, oh, I didn't know, oh, I never thought about this way, right? He's telling me this. And it's like, yeah, yes. In my head, I'm like, no shit. You're like, yes, I've been telling you this for, how many freaking years? But yes, oh, really? Oh, that's so interesting. I'd never realized this before. What ifs, right? It's happening. And the power of you gentlemen and of everybody sharing our stories so publicly is that we're giving permission to people to ask the questions that they might have been uncomfortable asking us before. It's critically important. It's how change happens. It's how change happens. We are, we are literally a community of change, and we are the agents of that change. And anybody can step into that role, which is the other powerful thing. Nobody's saying, oh, no, it's full. Everybody's saying, no, no, no. Oh, you got something new? Yeah. What's your recipe? What's your recipe? What's your recipe? Right? Because I need I need a piece of this and this and this, and I'm going to combine it to make my own recipe. But if people aren't sharing the recipe, how do we know? We don't. All right. Well, we're like 30 minutes in and we haven't even like gotten to the meat of the conversation.
This is our 5-part series with Dalton and me.
I'm sure we would have no problem filling a 5, 10, 50. It's fine.
Easily.
We could record a podcast episode every week for the rest of our lives, and we would die going, oh, that's how we would die.
Yeah.
Right. Oh my God. We would die saying, like, that's such a good point. Like 90 years old. Wait. All right, you guys, I say, let's dive in. Let's do this.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. You guys know I love to throw these questions that nobody knows that are coming at everybody in completely random times. Welcome to the second part of the podcast. What I want us to do is share the one word that describes our relationship with movement before surgery. The one word that describes our relationship with surgery before, or with movement before surgery. I will go first, and then I'm going to call on y'all because I'm the teacher of this classroom today. My word is punishment. Movement was punishment. Jason, what about you?
Dreaded.
Ooh, Nat?
Reluctance.
Okay. Rob?
That was kind of my word. Avoidance.
Dalton?
Non-existent.
Look at that.
Dalton gets the point. All right, next question.
Okay. I think anybody listening or watching is going to resonate with one of those words.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So now my next question is, now that we're post-op in different stages, what are you currently thinking about movement? What is your current word to describe your relationship with movement? Mine would be resistant. Jason, what would yours be?
Hopeful.
Ooh, Nat?
Celebration.
Rob?
Blessed.
Blessed. Dalton?
Reviving.
Okay, gold star to all of you. Jesus, here I am like resisting, and you guys are like, oh, it's hopeful, inspiring. Clearly, I need this episode as much as everybody else does.
I actually just have a thesaurus off screen. So.
Yeah. I've got a dictionary right
Whatever
here.
answer you give, I'm just there we go.
Oh my God, I love it. So I think that a great place to start our conversation is, how did you get to the place where movement was just a part of you? And I know that's a bit of a loaded question, but it's kind of the most important one, right? Because a lot of people listening, a lot of people watching are like me, right? Maybe used to move before surgery, had surgery, and are resistant, or just don't know where to start, or are feeling like movement is punishment or exercise is punishment, right? They've got a mindset that is limiting their maybe path towards movement. So how did you get from where you were to where you are today? And Dalton, we'll start with you on this one.
Yeah. So for me, mine kind of come about of a place of just kind of being broken. In all reality, I was kind of to the point where I was just looking for myself. I was out of just like a short relationship, was kind of lost, and was, in fact, I scrolled on TikTok, and I was like, man, I need something to just get away from everything. I need to find myself. And I come across the page for 75 Hard actually, and was like, interesting. I kind of want to look into this. And so I think I went down a straight a can of worms, basically. I was gone for hours, just like looking like, okay, so I got to do this and I got to do that and I got to do this. And finally I posted, I was like, I think I'm going to try 75 Hard. And a friend of mine was like, listen, don't even buy the book. I'll overnight you the book. I highly recommend it. Please do it. Try it. It'll save your life. And, so to this day, I started reading Andy Frisella's 75 Hard, which talks about like working out twice a day. And you start with 2 45-minute workouts, one inside and one outside. Coming from someone who hated the gym, I didn't want to move. I damn sure wasn't going to the gym because I was not going in front of people at that point in time. You couldn't pay me enough money to walk in a public gym I'd say the first month of 75 Hard. I'm sure my neighbors got a hell of a view because, I'm walking around outside and, trying to find this confidence that I didn't know was, buried within. But through that, I found a love for fitness that ended up saving my life. Like the rush of endorphins that I would get from working out that 45 minutes in the morning and the 45 minutes at night, clarity. I started, just honestly, I started working harder at my job. I started grinding harder, towards my goals. And it was this newfound happiness and like I said, I say reviving because I felt revived. Like normally you'd feel tired and like just exhausted after workout, but no, I felt alive and like, okay, like this isn't bad. I can do this thing. Like, and from there it was over. I fell in love.
It's amazing the power of like one thing, right? Your eyes, your ears, your brain encountered one thing and it just sparked this, oh, what's that? And then, like you said, you kind of go down the rabbit hole and you get to the point where you're ready to commit. I have seen a ton of people like go hard for 75 Hard and it lasts like 3 days. How did you get to the point? Yeah, right. I mean, like, I'm like, oh, I can do that. No, I absolutely could not.
I actually gave myself a hernia to get out of 75 hard this summer.
And you still didn't quit, so don't raise your hand, weirdo. You were still doing it for like 20 days after you blew your nuts out, so don't give me that shit.
Oh
Yeah.
my God.
Yeah, it's fun when like your insides are on your outside. That was probably a sign to scale back, but
But you were still doing it, so don't give me that.
well, I still had to get my steps in. So I did that. Well, in true man fashion, I didn't think I had a hernia for like the first 4 days.
Oh my God.
Yeah, in true man fashion, I went 4 days of saying this is fine. I'll be fine. Giant
can't even-
bone. Oh
Yep.
yeah. My insides are on my outside, and I'm pushing it back in like a circus trick. And I'm pretty much like, oh yeah, this is totally fine. I can totally do yoga on this. Literally, I'm getting into like bird dog, and my body is falling out of me. And I'm like, no, this is good. Record it. We got this. I'm gonna make it this. I'm gonna make it the other 72 days left in this challenge.
Well, that's what he told me because he said the first time he found it and tried to push it back, he's like, that was a horrible idea to try to push it back in because I almost passed out. He's like, the pain was too much.
Worst 4th of July circus trick I did at the family reunion was like, who wants to see a hernia go back in?
Gather around, kids.
The answer to that is literally no one ever. That's your
And this was the
answer.
last time Rob was invited into BariNation. Thank you for having me, people.
If you're listening only to this podcast, you need to pause it and go to YouTube and
There are no pictures of my hernia on the YouTube. Actually,
yeah, I'm so sorry I did not clarify. No, our faces were amazing. So please, I know
they were the exact opposite faces of what I made when I had a hernia during 75 hard. Well, actually, April's kind of now looks like mine.
But you did. You actually made, what did you ended up making it almost 35 days, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that perseverance, if nothing else, that's your.
We should probably put a disclaimer: do not do that. If you feel extreme discomfort and pain, or your insides are on your outside, stop all exercise immediately.
Yeah.
Please do not try this at home, especially if you're not a doctor or a nurse. Try to put your hernia back in your body.
I'm still going to get 3 DMs of like, how do you do like squats with a hernia?
Yeah.
And I'm going to be like, yeah, don't.
no tutorials, please.
Yes.
What pose was best when you had your insides falling out?
On my back and in tears.
That's the best pose.
Yeah.
We're gonna put a disclaimer on this one.
Don't you need a disclaimer every time I come on of like, this is not going to go anywhere on topic, and also we're going to cover everything we didn't really need to hear about bariatric surgery? So here we go.
Oh my God.
Out, literally.
Sorry, Dalton.
Yeah, the literal ins and outs of bariatric surgery.
And now we have our working title.
Beautiful.
Right. Beautiful. Chef's kiss.
Oh my God.
Good God. Okay. But this truly brings me to the thing that I wanted to follow up with. No. And Rob, but it's true. How the frick do you commit? Like, what is the commitment secret sauce? Because clearly both of you figured it out. I mean, Rob to an extreme that should never be humanly possible. But okay, so what did you do, Dalton? Like, what's the magic sauce?
Yeah. So for me, mine was, I made it to day 33. I said, and I was just sleeping, and I will say, let me go ahead and throw that disclaimer real quick up there. Don't do what I did during 75 hard at the first, 30 days. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I knew for, the basic part, calorie deficit. Well, I didn't know how much of a calorie deficit. I had no idea. I wasn't doing that research yet and realizing like, okay, well, if you're working out twice a day, dumbass, you're going to need to fuel your body. And so I just started dropping weight rapidly because I was eating around 1,000 calories, and that for me at 6'2" was not the smartest idea. So I was crashing really hard. Day 33, I fell asleep and I set my alarm, fell behind my bed. And when it did, I did not hear it. And I slept through my alarms, and I promised I was not going to the whole point of setting up hard is you can't bullshit anyone. Like, you have to be like upfront and honest. And so like, if I miss one thing, like, I'm holding it to myself to be true and transparent. Like, okay, I promised you guys, I promised myself, I made that commitment. Like, if I fail, I'm going to tell everyone. And so I did. I failed at day 33 and come out with that. But through failing, I found success. And that success was I found a pattern. And that pattern I realized was way better for me than anything I could have found in 75 Hard. The fact of like I said, the endorphins, I started to literally almost like feel addicted to the endorphins, because it's, again, you wake up and you're all of a sudden, because I started doing it on my lunch break. I'd take an hour lunch. Like I said, I still work my 9 to 5 analyst job. And so I would, 11:45, I would set my phone and I'd be running to the gym really quick. Actually, before the gym, I would actually be out in the front, like, of our little residential neighborhood, just running around in circles. I remember at one point, I even used my car and a yoga mat because I couldn't do sit-ups without my feet coming off the ground. So I actually stuck the yoga mat next to my car. Like, here's the car. I stuck my yoga mat up next to the car and I stuck my feet underneath the car. And I would just actually use that as like a bracing point. And then just like little high intensity workouts, but through that, I found that pattern and that consistency. And then, I found that it was easier to commit when you're consistent.
Wow. And you really have maintained that to this day, right? Like, I'm always seeing you posted, and like, there's almost always 2 workouts a day, right? It's like cardio, something else.
I try to hit cardio every day during the week. Now, I will say this bulk, I have slowed down some. I was told not to, like, because I was doing 30 to 45 minutes every day, just straight treadmill, and then I would go into core. But I've slowed it down to 25 and stopped doing such high intensity because it was just melting off faster than I could put it on. And I already struggle getting all my food in. I mean, I can eat. I can eat now, but I will say I struggled there for a while and I couldn't. So I was at that point trying to stretch it out and not do it. But that twice a day has really been great, and it's really helped me. And then at night I go back and just then I can focus, I decompress. It's kind of like my time to get away, and I really just get in tune with my body and start trying to lift weights. And it's peaceful, but yet it's fun, and it's my escape. So
well, and it sounds like you've really kind of done exactly what Rob has done, which is you're carving out time, protected time in your day.
Oh yeah.
Right?
No, people know it's protected. Like I had a few friends that were like, yo, let's go do this, let's do that. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to the gym because it's what I want to do. And they're like, well, you can't cancel. Why? Like I can, but why? Like, you can't move it around my schedule. Like, if not, then I don't need to go. It's something that I'd rather do more than to, the alternative of going and sitting around a table or just wasting time and bullshitting, and for me, that mental clarity in the gym is my peace. And if you're altering my peace, I don't like that. So
well, that just shows the strength and the commitment, because it's so, like, one of the first things we'll do as, patients is we'll quit on ourselves real fast. Like, it's super easy to cancel on ourselves before we'll cancel with anybody else. So the fact that you double down on that and let everybody know, like, no, you signed a contract with yourself and chose to do this, and you're going to show up for yourself. I mean, that's huge. That's a mindset shift that takes a long time to get a hold of.
I tell you, it almost ruined like a lot of friendships, and I'm not advising this at all. Please do not take this as advice to anyone who is listening, but like, I sent a text out in, December, to all my friends when I was prepping for summer shredding. And like, it was a mindset that I mean, my best friends, the ones that knows my deepest, darkest secrets, I text them at like, I think it was 12:30, 1 o'clock at night. I was like, hey, I'm ghosting 6 months. You won't hear from me. I'm sorry. I hope that's okay. But I've got to focus on me and me alone, and everything else is a distraction for what I'm trying to hit and obtain. And you may not understand that mindset. They really didn't understand it. So like, a month goes by and they're like, yo, where the hell's Dalton? Like, we've invited him out and he's not responding or anything. And I made sure to tell them. And so, 4 months down the road, they're like, bro, like, we don't even talk to you anymore. And I told you 4 months ago, I'm hitting this goal. So I think when you really commit to something for yourself, it's such a deeper commitment than you will ever know. And that's when it's like, you can't stop. You won't stop, I think, is the difference. So.
Absolutely. And I feel the same way. I walk every single day, 45 minutes on my lunch. That is like my me time. And I work 10-hour days. I work 4 10s. Like, that is the one time of the day where I literally put on my calendar, lunch, no meetings. And I've had managers, other departments say, hey, can we squeeze in a meeting? And I said, what does that say right here? No meetings. Like you have to commit to it. And eventually, like, I'm sure your friends have eventually learned, like, you don't touch that time. Like, that is my time, that is my space, and you don't touch it. And I think that's something that I've learned, and all of us have learned, that if you stick to that, people are going to respect it eventually. But it's that first part that is so hard to maintain.
And it's one of the things that the late great Kobe Bryant always said is, like, success and greatness is lonely. It's a lonely place, because a lot of people will not understand that level of commitment to anything. Doesn't matter what it is. So to get into that mindset and really stick to it, like, it's very hard to do, but it is a lonely place. And look what, you did that, you set that goal for yourself, and look what you did. You walked across the stage, you did amazing things for yourself, but it came at a cost. It came at a cost of you abandoning everything you knew and loved, and your comfort for that time to step completely. I mean, you were so far out of your comfort zone that you couldn't even see that shit anymore. So, I mean, it's not just, you didn't just step out of your comfort zone. You ran from that shit. So it's one of those things that you see that level of dedication, commitment, and that, of solitude that it took you to get to where you were, but you completed that goal and something amazing came out of it.
Yeah. The saying that I keep coming back to is, right, when we say yes to things, it means we're saying no to other things, right? And the opposite is true. Saying no to things means that we have the capacity and space to say yes to the things that are most meaningful for us. And I think until you're in, the kind of position, Dalton, right, that you put yourself in, you don't realize you're saying no to some really big things. Like, to things that are meaningful and valuable, to relationships, to people, to experiences. You're saying no to those things so that you can say yes to this one thing. And that can be scary, because I would imagine you're second guessing your yes a lot.
Yeah, you could say that. It was one of those things where, like I said, I cut off a lot of relationships, and again, I think it has a lot to do with just me and my personality. I struggle to focus on a lot of things, even, going through school and things like that. It was a struggle for me. So easily distracted. I know that if I let all these different areas of distraction come in, I'm not going to hit my goal. And to me, it was something that I swore to myself that was like, you know what, if you're going to do this, you're going to do the damn thing. You're not going to half commit like you do on everything else. You're going to bust hell wide open, you're going to hit it. So, and at that point, it was, if I ended up, with a broke leg and a broke back at that stage, I'm going to get on that stage at some point and prove to myself that I can stay committed that long. So, but in that, yeah, I ended up losing, a few friends. A relationship was broke off through it. And it was, the whole time though, I'm questioning myself, like, Dalton, is this worth it? Like, just to say that you did it. And 100%, because now I know that, like, the only thing I have in my control is my mindset. And I realized that by pushing myself that far and that hard, that I can push my mind to some pretty unique places that it'll withstand it, I guess, to say. So 10 out of 10 best experiences ever.
Wow. Well, again, right, the old Stoic saying, persist and resist. We hear that all the time, right?
Yeah.
Persist through, resist through, right?
Exactly.
It's hard to know when to persist and when to resist, or what to persist through and what to resist. But by having that very singular goal in mind, you were able to very quickly use that as a filter to say, does this get me closer to my goal? Does this align to my goal? If it does, yes. If it doesn't, no. It's a very quick, right, yes, no way to kind of cipher through things. And the flip side, as Jason said, like, look what you accomplished.
Yeah. And, looking on it now, like, during that time, it really helps me solidify my background and, like, in fitness. And, now I love the point where I'm at right now. I have a blast when I go to the gym, like the mindset, the focus, the clarity that I get from it. I've got friends now, the friends that then didn't understand my passion for the gym. Now they're like, hey man, can we come work out with you? Hey man, like, what are you hitting tonight? Can I come hit legs? And to me, that I feel like, okay, every bit of tear, pain, sweat, every drop of it was worth it. Now that I've got somebody he's like, not to put him out there, but he's lost like 40 pounds in the last like 5 months. And he come up to me the other day, he's like, man, I want to start hitting the gym with you. And to me, like, it's even opened my eyes from that perspective of like, wow, like people that I didn't even realize I could like help just by helping myself is now impacted. And now I'm loving that, and being able to take my friends to the gym with me and build that community of guys to go and support each other is great. But it's crazy to see the different aspects of how the gym can save a person and how beautiful it is in that aspect. So
yeah, seeing your impact reach outside of the bariatric community to your normal everyday life really is an eye-opening situation when you see other people that want to do better just because they see you doing better, and letting you know that you're the inspiration behind that is a good time.
Yep.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Well, and Rob, you and I know the power of teaching what we're learning, right? We can teach as we simultaneously learn, right? Because by teaching, we continue to learn, right? It's a powerful part of just who we are. Nat, you understand this too. Your background is in education, right? Like by teaching, we learn. I think it's even the motto of the college I went to. So how did you teach yourself, Rob, about movement? How did you come to the place where movement is a part of your everyday life?
I think for me, it's tough when you're pretty much put in a spot where you're at a crossroads of you're either going to live or you're going to die. And it's really tough to come to terms with this might be your last chance. And what are you going to do? So I was really lucky that the bariatric program that I had started you off on small incremental steps. So it was start tracking all of your food. It was just start to see how many steps you get a day and then increase by 1,000. And it was one of those things that for me, it was, okay, well, if 10,000 is what all the research says, I'm going to do 15. And it was one of those, I wasn't going to break 15. And there was nothing I was going to do to break 15 until I went to bed on my 215th night in a row of hitting 15,000 steps. And I had 14,996. And I went bananas. But the beauty of losing it at 215 steps was it made me realize that, like, I'm built for this. I really wanted to cry and quit that next day. And you guys actually had a struggle bus. I lost it on a Monday. That Tuesday struggle bus, I had naturally built into my body. Like, just in my everyday habits, I was at 11,000 steps. I'm like, well, if they're on a live, why am I not putting my headphones out and closing out the day? And I realized I was built different at that point. And it was one of those things that I then hit 15,000 steps in a row for 425 days in a row. And it was one of those that, like, the only reason I lost, I'm going to bring it back to the hernia. I promise, Dalton. Dalton's like, I need more hernia content. And if it wasn't for the hernia, I would have still kept going on that. But I've really learned to balance of there's some days I know it all comes back to this, but that you thought you were going to get an emotional conversation from how it started, and it did not go there. But essentially, I've really learned that there's some days that I hit 15,000. There's some days I hit 20. There's some days I hit 9. But how I've mentally built my habits and my routine and how intentional I am with my time, it's almost impossible for me to hit below 7. Just from how I built the habits and routines of what I do every day. And that's a blessing to me. The fact that I've changed my life, my movement, and how I do everything, that's a blessing I get to do from 4:45 when I wake up till I go to bed 37 minutes ago. And that's really a nice thing that I've been able to do over this last couple of years.
Well, and one of the things I love so much about your journey and how you've been able to do it is we often tell people that movement is going to look different for everyone. And you encompass that to a T, because there is so many things I see you do that are just outside of the norm for guys, but for people that even exercise. Some of the newer implements that you have bought recently that I've been messaging you about, it's just cool as shit to see, because A, I didn't even know they existed, and B, like, I'm asking you, like, what the hell they do, because I don't know any better. but it's cool to watch you do it because it shows people that it is such a wide variety that exercise, like there's so many things you can do to find what works for you that you can continue to keep on your journey and actually see the results you're looking for.
Yeah, I constantly tell people groove is in the heart, but movement's all around. So it's one of those things that you don't realize how much you can engage yourself if you really push. I know a great way to do it, teach high school. There's plenty of jobs open literally everywhere right now. Just go into the building and chase teenagers all day. And it's great because you get to move with them and you get to see that. But it's also just the way I change with my kids. One of the toughest parts I had this summer is I taught my youngest daughter, Stella, how to ride a bike, and she's only 7. And I didn't teach my oldest daughter till she was 9. And she was like, why did you wait so long with me? And I had to actually kneel down and tell her I was physically unable to jog next to you to have you. I held back one of my daughter's life goals trying to accomplish at my biggest size. And I can't get that back. That's gone. That's never coming back. So it's one of those things. My goal every day is to wear my own kids out. The easiest check I write for my kids is for any activity that has movement involved, but it's even me when I'm working overtime. I get to work overtime and work sporting events. So as security, I literally get to walk a track after school, as opposed to when I used to sit in a giant chair and watch a sporting event. So it's slowly changing the mindset of what are you doing with every minute of your time to get your goals accomplished. That really does.
Well, and I remember when I was starting out my journey and when I was newly, post-op, you posted all the time about what's your steps, and you'd post your steps and you would show, this is where I am today. And I know that was on your journey to getting all those 15,000 steps a day. And that was inspiring for me because as I said before, my word for movement before was reluctance. And that was even just for walking. I'm not even talking going to the gym. That wasn't even a thought in my brain. It was just even walking. I was reluctant to walk. And yeah, you inspired me, Rob, and I know you inspire a lot of other people to just move, just do something. And we've talked about this on recent podcasts where I got really overwhelmed because I thought, I have to figure out something else to add to my routine. And I was really stressing myself out. And in that stress cycle, I stopped walking as much because I was like, that's not good enough. I need to do more. And I lost that, that rhythm, that continuation that we always talk about. And I'm finally starting to get back into it, but
I heard on the last podcast, see, I'm up to date, but I was listening on the last one and you were talking about just getting out and putting a podcast on and walking. And it is that simple.
it is. It's so simple. It's as simple as running an errand, going to the post office and walking instead of taking the bus. It's those little things that we just forget about. And you do find joy in them after a while. And you don't get all reluctant and down on yourself. I love that you showcase that. And I love Dalton for showcasing his journey. I think that's what's so incredible about this community is everyone has their own thing and it's all valid. It's all good. It's just do it. Right. April always says the Nike slogan.
I finally get it.
Yeah.
Right. But it's true, right? Because motivation is bullshit. Motivation is something that happens after we do the thing. Mm-hmm. That, right? Motivation, you make the commitment, you say, I'm doing this no matter what, you do it. And then that action that you've taken produces the motivation. People have it backwards.
Yeah, I feel like so many people are looking for motivation in a lot of things, but they've got to find the determination to fuel that motivation, and that's where the lack of thereof is what causes the lack of success in journeys. I feel like if people focused on that, just determining, setting their mind to determine, I don't give a damn. You're not going to defer my plan. I'm hitting this, and set that to yourself as your goal. almost have that internal argument with yourself. Like, I don't give a damn. I am getting that, that amount of protein in for breakfast. If I have to get up 30 minutes earlier, so be it. 30 minutes earlier, it's not going to kill me, and again, I think that's the big difference between success is the level of determination.
Yeah, deciding what are your non-negotiables. I think, Rob, you asked me that one time, like this last year, and I was like, well, I don't know what my non-negotiables are. And it's like, well, how can I grow and, move through this journey if I don't even have my own non-negotiable things? Like we talked about the contract, what's in my contract? If I don't even know what the contract says, I'm not going to follow through. Having those non-negotiables are huge.
I think it's tough when you don't know what direction you're going in. How can you really have any success? And I think it's one of those things that just even a basic thing for me, it was just move every day, get 15,000 steps. And it's daunting some days, other days it hit easy, but at least I knew that was a goal. The following year I've been really working on, I haven't had alcohol and I'm going to go a full year with that. Next year, I have a goal that I'm still workshopping out. But my goal is every year to kind of change and adjust and pivot on what I need. But once that goal's set, it's set. And that's one thing that it's my non-negotiable. And if that means I'm up at 4:45 in the morning to hit it, that means I do it. If that means I'm up late at night to do it, that means I do it, but it's non-negotiable. And that's really what it means to put yourself first. And once you start putting yourself first, that's really where you get to see some amazing results.
Well, and the pivot that you're talking about, I thought was cool because you had were master of the home workout. Your basement was your jam. That was where you stayed in the dark, all by yourself doing all your workouts.
Thanks, Jason. Nothing sounds better than you stayed in the dark, creepy basement.
Well, at least I didn't say it's your mom's house.
Yeah.
So, but the cool thing about it is you go from working in the basement doing your stuff to next thing you see you're in Planet Fitness and you're doing other stuff, but you explained it instead of just being like, oh, now I'm here doing this. You really came out and said, there are things I realized I needed, I wasn't able to do with the equipment that I had or the space that you had or whatever that may be. And so you mixed up your workouts. And so you still do your stuff at home, but you also do stuff in Planet Fitness. So, but bringing people along in that
$10
journey,
membership, people.
But
frugal as anything. No one comes on me.
I'm just going to be your
you
free
have
guest
to
all the
edit
time.
that now that I said that out loud.
You're my free. I'm just going to be your free guest all the time. But yeah,
no, I don't have that membership, Jason. I have the basic $9.99. I don't even get to go near the hydro massage chair that's broken.
Cheap ass. Come on, you make all the big bucks. Let's go. But yeah, so the cool thing about it is you brought everybody along so they could see exactly what that pivot looks like. What you showed, that determination, that contract with yourself shows that if there is something you realize that you are lacking, missing, or need to update, you can still make those changes and add something to the workout that may not be something that you started with, and that's okay.
And I think one of the reasons I did that was because I started to notice there was too much bleed when I was at home. And we go back to this non-negotiable, but also what's sacred. In the summertime, it would start as, well, I'm going to do a little bit of legs down in the basement. Then I'm going to play with my kids. Then I'm going to come back and finish that last set. And you're really not getting a proper focused workout at that point, where you're working out for maybe 5 hours a day, but you're doing it, but you're not committed to it. And you're not giving it its full attention. And it was one of those things that I set the timer when I go into Planet Fitness for $9.99 a month. They can waive my free membership for this plug. But the idea was that's my sacred time from 5 to 6:15. That's when I get it done because I have a heart out. I can't let it bleed. And that was really one of the ways that's really helped me get some nice results when I'm lifting more and I have more machines than what's in my basement. So, yeah.
I have recently discovered who my future third husband will be. Grady's my first. James Clear is my second. Ryan Holiday is my third. He's the gentleman behind Daily Stoic, all that kind of stuff. I'm currently reading his book. I have it with me at all times because you guys know I'm crazy. It's called Discipline is Destiny. And what we're talking about, right, is keeping the main thing the main thing. We have to identify what our main thing is going to be when it comes to our bariatric journey or even to movement. And once that's identified, you can say no to everything else. And this one passage, I'm just going to read it verbatim because I think it really summarizes exactly what everybody's been saying, right? So what does it mean to keep the main thing the main thing? This means, first, the discipline to step away and think, what am I doing? What are my priorities? What is the most important contribution I make to my work, to my family, to the world? Then comes the discipline to ignore just about everything else. Right? That is what we're really kind of talking. It's what everybody said. You've clearly identified what is my main thing when it comes to movement. And the discipline part is saying no to all of these other things that come my way. Because when I say no to the things that aren't aligned to this, I can very easily say yes to my goal, yes to the thing that matters. Rob, you said something earlier and I wrote it down. I was like, oh my God. You said, attack the stack. Attack the stack. And for my brain, it makes it's a more approachable, fun, vibrant way of saying, like, there's a lot of shit we have to do every day to be a bariatric patient that's aligned to the goals, right? Like, there's a lot. We know there's so much: water, vitamins, protein, eat slow, blah, blah, gratitude, blah, 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 right? All this stuff. That gets overwhelming. That is so overwhelming. But if you approach this as like, okay, what is my stack today? Right? What do I have to get through? And if I can attack it early, if I can be disciplined to say no to the things that don't help me attack that stack, you could probably accomplish way more than what you're thinking, because that just becomes your, right? That's your focus. That's your checklist. That's your to-do list. It's just changing the words, but it just makes a difference.
Well, because we know that the mind will give out way before the body will. So
Yes.
that's why mindset is so just important when it comes to this journey, because the stronger your mindset is, the more you're going to get done, the more of that stack you'll be able to attack, because your mind will try to give up 1,000 times before your body actually, throws in the towel. So,
Yeah.
And I think one of the main mantras that I've had through all this is I have freedom through discipline. Because I'm so disciplined now with how I handle my time, money, and my energy, I have more time than I ever have. I have more money than I ever have because I'm not wasting it at Taco Bell or other places. Like, I used to spend $700 a month in sneak eating at my biggest. Like, and that's what I joke. I literally, when I started to beat those cravings, every time I beat it, I put $10 in a Boba Fett piggy bank because I'm a Star Wars fan. And then after a month, I had like the first month I had to tell my wife, I spend $700 on fast food. And thank God she didn't beat me or anything. But she literally was like, you need to talk to your therapist about this. And we built this plan. But my home gym is essentially built on Taco Bell and McDonald's. And the biggest excuse I hear people say is, I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money, and I don't have enough energy. I hear it every time. I can't do the workouts you do at that time because I don't have those three. And a lot of the times I ask them, do you keep a calendar that you commit to? Answer's almost always no. Do you know where every dollar goes in your account? The answer's no. And you wonder, if you're tired and broke, like, that might be why you don't have the energy to hit your goals. But the more you stay disciplined on those three things, the more it's unlocked for me to have the success I did.
You said something earlier too, and I think this is going to be a really awesome way to wrap up this conversation, because it has to do with our expectations after surgery. We think that surgery is going to cure us. Surgery is the one thing, right? Nope, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to lose a bunch of weight and it's going to be fine. But you had said something, Rob, about how, like, you got to the point where you realized you were going to die. And I wondered in my brain, did you get to that point before or after surgery? Or have you had two moments along your bariatric journey where you realized, I'm going to die?
I think after the pulmonologist told me, that was pretty clear. And then I never looked back. One of my favorite quotes that I've used throughout my entire life, thick and thin, comes from Jerry Rice. And when people say, why did Jerry Rice work? And it goes back to that Kobe Bryant or any other athlete mentality. why are you up at 5 a.m. doing hills? And he's like, I'm afraid. I'm afraid that if I take one day off, that I'm going to lose everything I've worked so hard for. And every day I wake up and I treat it like I'm defending the title. It's my title. It's mine alone, and it's mine to have. But I take it personal every day I wake up that I'm going to hit my goals and do what I need to do.
And that answers my question, because what I have been feeling for the past year maybe is, oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm having this second wave, and I'm realizing, right? Like I realized I'm going to die, or my life is over if I don't have surgery, because the life I was living was fine, great, wonderful, right? But we've all been there, like, I'm going to die if I keep going down. So I made the commitment and I had surgery, and I thought, oh my God, this is it. This is the one thing I finally figured it out. But now that I'm 3.5 years post-op, I have this fear that's living in me at all times now. And that fear says, you're going to die again, because I have not made the commitments or the changes. I haven't gotten to the place yet where I'm fearless. And I was after surgery. I had surgery. I got to this point and I'm like, this weight is never coming back. I am fearless. I felt released from that fear. And I felt that way for 2.5 solid years, for a very long time. But all of a sudden it's like, okay, my weight's creeping. My body is calling for this movement. I'm so resistant to it. I'm having these really difficult mindsets and these hard conversations with myself. Things just feel heavy again. And when you said that, you're like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
this is what I'm feeling. And I'm so like flabbergasted that I'm here again after surgery. But it's these conversations where these light bulbs are going off for me, right? Whitney said something in a live the other day about how we need adjunct treatment after surgery. Never heard that before, right? Weight loss surgery, bariatric surgery is the primary treatment, but we need adjunct treatments if we want to find success. That was a missing piece. Boom. You just gave me the other missing piece of, okay, so the reason I'm feeling this way has nothing to, I'm not doing anything wrong. I just didn't realize that I need to treat all of these other things in my bariatric life, in my life, as adjunct treatment. Because if I don't, I will find myself exactly as I was before now, right? And I'm just like, oh my God. And it's disappointing, it's frustrating. It fills me with anger, rage. Right. And when I get frustrated, I mean, I'm just like, well, forget all of it. I'm not doing any of that. I just get so mad that I just, baby in the bathwater moment.
Yeah.
But
And I think it's one of those things that my surgeon did his job perfectly. He removed 80% of my stomach. It's the work I do with my therapist now that really does the work of working on my emotional relationship with food, but also my emotional relationship with movement. And that didn't come overnight for me yet. Took a wake-up call, but there is something unhealthy with me still being scared 3 years out. And I know that, and I work with that. And I wish I could tell you that once a month I don't have that nightmare of I'm back to 365 pounds, but it's a process. It's a lifelong process. And you kind of have to own it and work on it. And that's really all I can do at this point for the rest of my life. And I'm just not going to quit. So
I wonder, and this is, I'm not saying it is true or not, but I've talked to other people. I consider myself, I'm a food addict. That is my thing. And I don't speak for anyone else, but that is who I am. I am an addict. I have addicts in my family, and I've talked to them, people who have been sober for 15 years, and they still have these moments where they're afraid and say, I'm going to die, and all of this stuff. And I think, as I was listening to you talk, April, I think those moments are necessary because they push us into the determination, into the I gotta do this because I gotta do it. Like, because I was the same way as you, April. There was there was a moment, sure, before surgery where I was like, I'm gonna die. I gotta get this done. I did it, right? I lost 50 pounds in 3 months on my pre-op diet. Like, what? Insane. I, lost all this weight. And then, yeah, I'm just over 2 years out and I was starting to feel myself waffle. And I had that moment again recently where I was like, oh shit, like I'm gonna die. Like, get your shit together. And I think after talking to some people in my family, that as addicts, we just have those moments. We have those moments of we have to do it because that's our treatment, right? Community is treatment. The weight loss medication is an adjunct treatment. Like, we have to get to those points because that is what throws us into saving our lives.
Yeah. Yes. Well, and I'm so thankful that I'm not crazy. Right? I think we've all experienced this, right? It's just we didn't have the words to describe what it was. We didn't have the, yeah. Well, I didn't even know that was what I was thinking until literally Rob said it. And I was like, oh my God, that is what I'm actually terrified about, is going back. Dalton, have you felt the same way?
Oh yeah. I mean, I'll just be extremely transparent. From spending the last 25 years of focusing on dieting and weight loss, like going to pediatricians and all that shit growing up, my parents like, no, watch your calories and all this stuff. To where I think that helped me really be that motivation I needed and that fuel later on. But now that I am in the process of a bulk, I'm scared absolutely shitless. And there's days where I get so bad in my head that I'm an emotional wreck. Like, very, very transparent moment at Off Land this last weekend. Like, I did not want to take my shirt off. And I know that sounds crazy to you guys because you're like, well, you took your shirt off, but like, I was doing that last time, like no one had to ask me last time. And this time I'm at Alpha Land. I'm 30, almost 35 pounds heavier than I was on stage. And so now it's to one of those things in my head where I'm like, I've got to trust that process. But at the same time, it scares the absolute shit out of me because I know how hard it was to dig myself out of it. And I know that it's not near as hard to dig myself right back into it, and it's a scary situation to say the least. I have been in my head drastically about it. So please don't think that anything's wrong with you. I think that's a necessary fear that's installed into us in this journey to keep us from going back. And I think that it's kind of like our internal check that it's like, hey, remember where you came from. You're not going there, but remember where you came from. Remember how hard you fought, how those tears that you fought back, the shit that you carried on your back. Remember, that's where you came from. You're not going back there, but you can just keep going forward, So it's like that internal check off. But yeah, it's definitely feeling it right now. Setting at 227 from 190 is a wake up call for me. And even though I'm right where I'm supposed to be, it's hard. So yeah,
well,
don't feel
it's one of those things we put in ourselves. So it's our fight or flight coming in and saying like, there's something terribly wrong. Because you said it in yourself, like, this is my last resort. Surgery is going to be it. I'm going to work really hard. And like in your mind, you go ahead and program that as your last resort, and your body, your mind, and your everything picks up on that. And so anytime you're going against what you know is to be your last resort, your body's like, hey, wait a minute, like, no, let's not do that, because we're not going to, we got to fight this with everything we got in us, because we're not trying to do that. So that's where that comes from.
I am just amazed. Every time we have these conversations that there are some big, like, oh, like, oh my God. But if you're not talking about this, you would never get there. Right? You would never get there. And it's hard to say, like, I'm really struggling. It's hard to say, like, oh my God, I think I'm going to die. But I don't want to go back there. So I guess I have to do what I have never done before, which is have very difficult conversations with people about things that I want to keep very buried and deep and dark. But, I mean, and I have just really tried to come back to this, right? If I want to live a different life, I have to live a different life. So whatever I did or did not do before surgery, I need to start doing, because that is how I live this different life, right? And this change of my mindset when it comes to movement, food tracking, like all the things that you guys have done and continue to do to be successful, those adjunct treatments, those other things beyond surgery are the things that we all have to be disciplined to do daily. And we have to make that our main thing. No, this is my main thing, right? This is my main thing. And I will carve the time out. I will make the time. I will protect the time. And I will say yes to the things that are aligned to that. And I will say no to the things that are not. And I will be willing to pay the consequences. Holy Jesus. Gentlemen, I'd like to leave you with the last word. What's one thing that you are really hoping people, listeners, watchers, our friends, our followers will leave this conversation with? If there's one thing that they take away, what do you hope they take away? Rob, we'll start with you.
Just start. You know, if you're listening to this and you're considering bariatric surgery, do your homework, do the research, do what you need to do. If you're post bariatric surgery and wondering how to start to move, get started on that. If no matter where you are, if you're not happy with something in your life, just start that process and don't stop.
Dalton?
Yeah, you took the words literally right out of my mouth. Just start. But I mean, honestly, that's the truth. Your journey, I like to read, is your journey doesn't start with a dumbbell; it starts with a mindset. So you don't have to start out with a gym membership. You don't have to start out with a jump rope. Like, I started out in my bedroom with 2 bowling balls doing reverse tricep curls. For God's sakes, turn 75 hard. You don't need fancy equipment. You walk. Go up and down the stairs, literally stand up and sit down in a chair. Like, just start. It's the small things. Don't take the elevator, take the stairs. You know, it's those little key movements that you start to pick up on throughout your day. And it's like, well, damn, well, you know what? I did take the stairs. Well, now maybe tomorrow I'll take the stairs twice. And now you're a year post-op, and now you're like, what's an elevator? You know, of course, I don't need to park next to the door. I can park all the way out by the end of the road and carry my groceries in and out. Like, it's those things. Like, it's like almost like a challenge now. It's like a freedom. It's a newfound freedom that you discover in all of it. So just start. You hit the nail on the head, Rob.
Yeah, but you say it so much better, you know. So.
No.
I think we all say everything pretty damn perfectly at this point. No matter how it comes out, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We know how extremely busy you are. We know that you had to carve time out. You said yes to us, which meant you said no to something else. So we very much appreciate you saying yes to this conversation. Sleep. Yeah, sleep. Well, we know how impactful it's going to be. We know how important these conversations are, and the fact that you value them as much as we do, and you value the community in the way that you do. Like I said, we are all change agents here. We are all here to say, here's what I'm thinking, here's what I'm trying, here's what I'm doing. Let's do it together. And right, let's connect, learn, and grow. That's how this, it's how this all happens. Where can they follow you guys if they don't already do so? Dalton, where can they connect with you?
Yeah, I'm on TikTok, Instagram, just kind of the main ones. It's my last name with no vowels. It's MSSLWHT, Musselwhite. I know my parents didn't love me, so but if you guys can follow me there, that'd be awesome. So
awesome. Rob?
I'm just on Instagram, so it's my_weight_is_history. My weight is history. So, because I'm a history teacher.
I was going to say, because it's kind of funny.
See what I did there? And a dad. So there's the joke. Yay.
We can't record an episode without you having a dad joke in there. We just
Of course.
That's why you're dad, Rob.
Yeah.
Pretty much. That's why you're dad, Rob. And I will say, I mean, all of us on this screen met because we sent each other a direct message. That is how these relationships started. So if you are scared or nervous, or you're wondering how you connect with people in the community, it starts with a single message. So do not be afraid to reach out to these gentlemen. Do not be afraid to reach out to any one of us, either on our personal Instagram or on the BariNation Instagram. We do this because we want to connect with you. We want to help. And it is humans behind everybody's Instagram, right? So you message Dalton, you message Rob, you message, it's us. It's us literally doing this. So, right. Please don't be afraid to reach out if you're looking for that connection or you want to continue the conversation with Dalton or Rob or any of us.
Please do.
Awesome. Jason, my friend, you want to take us out?
Yes, ma'am. Guys, just like April said, we appreciate you for joining us. Your knowledge, your time, your effort, everything is extremely appreciated. And Rob, since you let the cat out of the bag and said you have more money than you've ever had, you can upgrade your chintzy ass membership to the gym. And so I can be your free guest. And we just appreciate all the support and love from the community that we've had. It really does mean the world to us. Everything that you guys do to help support us, it just gets us through the day and helps us move just one step closer to the goal of helping just that many more people. So, we love you guys from the bottom of our hearts and can't thank you enough. And at the end of the day, you've got this, we've got you, and we'll see you next time.
Bye, friends.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you guys.